The name of Jesus will snap you out of a trance, because a trance is a demon. It's an entity, and they have to flee at the name of Jesus Christ. Some maybe come out with fasting and praying. So twansele fasting, twansele rapeleng, consecrate yourselves so you can loose your bonds from holding on to a man in support of him that has made you eat ARVs, that has made you eat other kinds of meds, antibiotics. A man that has put sores in your mouth that you can't eradicate. Every time you brush your teeth, it hurts. Your gums bleed. That's what this man does to you after you gave him fellatio. And yet, nah, I'm not going to stand against him. And we're all going to relate with all of our patient zero. We're all going to have this as a source story for all of us. So this chick wako YouTube, proper, you know, like she's protected, mamela. So you can understand, Njefela, how bizarre this little deep state nonsense is and how powerful this man is, ne? He's the son of a father-son pe bahlanyang. The dad wants to make out of me his personal assistant. Bang patla ba dichu bahlanya ke mamela. The son, who is especially gnarly or very forceful in a way that his dad just isn't. He's old enough to be my dad. He's just so old and most bravado, because I guess maybe phenotypically he's still somewhat seemly. This man, the chick was a YouTube, but I don't want to lose my train of thought, so you can understand just how bad the situation is. When I go YouTube, she wants me to sleep with him. She keeps getting the present, the gift, and everything from this guy. He keeps telling her, keep an eye on her. This man, and he this chick. Yes, thank you. This chick wako YouTube. Hey guys, this story like I need you to understand how the stealth is. This man has got minions. He's got runner boys. I explained the epidemic facing these little runner boys of his. These monitors, these moderators, labantu laba, that whistle blow, almost as if they're whistleblowers. You're only a whistleblower when you're whistleblowing truth, bugger. Okay? The whistleblowers who are whistleblowing trash, they're largely male. The whistleblowers are largely male, even though every so often he's got females working for him. He pays them just to keep. It's like a factory, you know. Like when these people, when they're dealing with a very strong Christian, okay, their strategy starts to become send her as many buzzing bees, as many flies as you can, because if at all we can't get to this woman with very strong, hard knock, intense witchcraft, because warapela inowa faster, maybe we can agitate her with other small little irritants, like just an infestation of the naughty in the room. And she's always like, until she finally gets so tired of just like swatting flies and dooming and spraying all over the show that she will eventually capitulate in her frustration with small order witchcraft to the big order thing that we're trying to do over here. This man realized that he can't get to me no matter how haughty, how hectic, how big, and what strong order entities that he might be using against me. So he has figured that he's going to strategize by sending me dinsinsize dingata. And dinsinsize, they're largely boys, they're men, right? And they one of them is like a colored dude that is one of his favorite runner boys, and they're all little occult practitioners, and they get sent on missions to just send very frustrating, irritating, however quickly and easily eradicatable, treatable witchcraft. Mara. Back to back. So basically you pray it off today and then Kasan is again back. Pray it off today, tomorrow it's back. He sends a whole bunch of them to energetically just every single day cast a new spell. Every single day just cast a new spell. I did shorts, not only rebuking these little minion boys, but God Almighty himself was is in pain, like as in forlorn, like heartbroken for these people. Not so much. Yeah, God has heard for me because God loves me, right? So he hates that I am being this badly afflicted. But you see, God has given me strength, and the Lord God Almighty, when then there are weird, gnarly, strange, ugly, like satanic, monstrous, freaky little strategies concocted against his servants, sometimes even though people don't know what they're doing. That's what the Bible, when Christ was dying, he said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. For the sake of sparing his Christian, just constant barrage of attacks, he will eliminate a battalion of soldiers in one sitting. And I just blow them out, go fair. He will blow all of them out, go fair. I will get back to speaking about, just to sealing the argument, the idea, right? Like, comparing like response by all these crazies, like the world responding to the IDF's retaliation against, for instance, Hamas with anti-Semitism, because they're saying, but you're employing a disproportionate show of force. But like, what did you want me to do? Just sit back and do nothing? Yeah, well, you know the thing that caused the world to be as anti-Semitic as they are increasingly. I mean, it's not like they were already anti-Semitic, but like they've worsened against Israel over their campaign over there in Gaza, was because of just the volumes of casualties in Gaza. But if you also really just kind of focus down your efforts, your energies on the casualties in Gaza and realistically gather the data, you will discover that a good 90%, somewhere along the 90th percentiles of all the casualties in Gaza are of Hamas militants, whereas 5% is civilians. They go out of their way to send out warnings. Those are the stats released by Israel, right? And I believe the United States of America. The majority and the vast majority of casualties in Gaza were from Hamas militants, but they try to make it look like the IDF is out to just killing civilians, they're out to just killing whatever. It's a lie. It's a lie, provably so. But remember, I said that they're losing the campaign, not the campaign war, but the PR war. Because in order to win a campaign war, you have to be full of lies, and Israel just isn't, right? Yeah, but God is the one that takes up that particular cause. But just based on the PR lie, that all these civilians are dying, all these kids are starving, they're famished, even though it's a lie. There is no famine in Gaza, but there is one in Sudan, yes. There is no famine in Gaza, but there is one in Ethiopia, yes. There is no famine in Gaza, but there is one in so many places in Africa. Papa, they are just punting or proliferating lies because, you know, no Israel, no news, yeah. People are messing with the name of Israel because it's spiritual. This here is spiritual. Yeah, let's just put that out there. And then reverting to the lie, the PR lie. Okay, the reason why there is such an intensification of anti-Semitism is in the belief that Israel is just killing all the babies of Gaza and starving them. That's why Greta Thunberg got to send her flotilla over there, even though it has no humanitarian aid. So clearly you just want to be an Instagram star. Okay, yeah, the world is made to believe that Israel is just out here massacring little babies. That's what the world is. That's the PR lie that is causing all this defaming of Israel. Well, my defaming is similar to the defaming of Israel. The defaming of the body of Christ is similar to the defaming of Israel. Recently, what country is it? No, it's not. I know that Trump is all up and busy there wreaking havoc in the life of Venezuela, right? In the nation's lead head of state over there, Maduro or whatever, like narco-terrorist type establishment there. But there's another country where there was a raid on some syndicate and a whole bunch of gangsters got killed by the police. I don't think it's Tanzania. I forgot what country it is. I know that there was like, is it Tanzania? Listen, I stand corrected. Okay, like I'm here, there, and everywhere with all these news and clippy my bobbies. All right. Anyway, whatever. But like, there were all these bodies laying strewn on the ground of youth in Brazil. Thank you. It's not Venezuela and it's not Tanzania either. It's Brazil. In Brazil, there was a raid recently done by the police in Brazil that killed a whole bunch of gang members. Listen, their bodies were just strewn on the floor, having been killed by the police in a raid. It was like a drug bust and they were cracking down on crime. And so some of the people that died, they were like 17-year-olds, like kids, like young men that died, but they were gangsters, they were criminals. And the police were cracking down on criminality. However, people were crying because they were family members of people. And their moms and their sisters were like, how could the government do that? This is my brother. They killed my brother. But like, your brother was a gangster. Your brother was a gangster. Your brother was just a lethal weapon in the community. Your brother was a murderer. We understand he was only 17. In the same way that there are only 12-year-old child soldiers that had to die. Little Yummy, that crazy little monstrous boy in the United States of America, died at the age of 11, having committed essentially a little mini genocide in his particular neighborhood, because he was just like a murderer of prolific proportions. Go look up Little Yummy proper. Go and look him up. But he was only 11 when he died. So whoever gunned him down, I believe it was another kid actually. There was also a gangster. Might be looked at on some. But how you gonna kill my little Yummy? He was only just 11. But I mean, like, the boy was evil. And that's what was the phenomenon going on over there in Brazil. All these dead gangsters on the floor, some of whom were people's sons, cousins, and best friends. They were people's sons, cousins, and besties. And so therefore, of course, you're going to be all hurt that your little Yummy baby brother is gone. But from the perspective of the righteous, little Yummy had to go. Your 17-year-old little Yummy, your 21-year-old little Yummy, your 27-year-old little Yummy, your 15-year-old little Yummy had to go. In the same way that those Hezbollah militants that were only 15 whose hands were blown off by pager bombs. They had to go. I mean, you can be a terrorist at just 9, but must I just ride out a mass murdering 9-year-old? Of course not. So yeah, we get that when gangsters die, there are parents behind them. But I mean, listen, those gangsters made other parents lose their kids. They were going to school. There was a story right here in the South Africa of Man. Even though I don't care anymore, okay, listen, I'm done with you. But there was a story in South Africa that broke my heart. Like, it broke me so badly. This one colored boy, I believe in the Cape. It might not be the Cape, I stand corrected. Maybe it was in Joburg somewhere. No, I think it was in Cape Town. He was at the bus stop going to school in the morning. And he had just opened East Captain Sake to eat, okay, breakfast at the bus stop. And 17 years old and other kids that were like 17, 18, 19 rocked up from behind him and just popped it at the back of his head and killed him. As gang violence, they were initiated into gangs and they were given a task to kill just anyone, and like just some civilian. Then you're going to be a member of our gang. And this young boy just so happened to be at the bus stop that morning eating bread, and he was killed right there with his sandwich lying next to his face and a pool of blood around him. He didn't make it to school. I mean, that boy was killed by his peers, but his peers that were now gang members, and his peers were, like I said, also 17, also 16, also 19. So I mean, if at all, those peers, those boys, those gang boys that killed that 17-year-old colored boy in Cape Town, if at all, the police find them in their operation and they run, and they are also, as they're running, shooting the police. When the police gun them down, understand, in the same way that that 17-year-old's mother, who was killed eating a sandwich at a bus stop waiting to go to school, the same way that his mom, who they showed in that news story, was mourning, and South Africa was mourning. You could see the pain in her face. When they showed the boy's photo with a small little afro, you could see his mom's face all over it. The crying mother, who was more or less my age, you could see face to face the face of the boy and the mom. You can see that this is this boy's mom, right? And she's all forlorn and her face is like red, because while she's being interviewed, she's lost her child. She was just murdered in cold blood by gang violence, by youngsters who are the same age as her son, that were initiated into a gang, and in order to be members officially, they had to go and commit murder, and they just chose her son. She's out here crying and her face is pink, it's red. That mother is literally also the mother of the gangsters, in the sense that she's a 40-year-old, 41-year-old woman who has a 17-year-old son. Those boys are 17, they're 18, they're 19, and they've got a mother who is also 40, 41. If they died because police popped them in a raid, their mothers are going to have their faces be just as pink as the mom of the innocent boy. And so the mothers are not going to be able to differentiate. They're not going to see the difference in their bereavement. Both mothers are going to be equally bereft that they lost children, and so they're broken. But communities are going to respond very differently to the bereavement of the mom of the innocent boy eating a sandwich at the bus stop versus the one who was killed because he was actively fleeing while shooting rounds at the police, and then he was gunned down. It's different. The community will feel nothing. They will feel like a sense of justice over the killing of the gangster boy. But his family is going to feel like, but the police killed my child. In Mamelodi, there is such a gangster culture over there. There is such a strong climate of basically revering and adoring gangsters. It's pretty much like how Pablo Escobar was in the comunas of Colombia. Loving their gangsters. They love them so much because they're so Robin Hoodian. Yeah, I'm fixing my wig. They're so Robin Hoodian. Yeah, to the comunas over there, even though they also wreak a whole chunk of havoc in those communities too. The way that Pablo Escobar wreaked havoc in the comunas of Colombia. He killed them, but he also just gave them wads of cash. And he was revered that he was essentially a god. They deified him as a god. They loved him like a fat kid loves cake. But he was also destructive to those same comunas. In Mamelodi, in Pretoria, in South Africa, in these streets of man, this Johannesburg, an easy weirdo place. I'm done with you. Listen, I'm done. For Mamelodi, there is such a strong culture of revering and idolizing gangsters that they're like Pablo Escobar in the comunas of Colombia, such that when they get gunned down by the police for wreaking havoc in neighboring Pretoria, neighboring Hatfield, neighboring what do you call this, Centurion, when these gangsters are to be just like stealing cars or killing people or all their hard knock like violence in that particular Trane region, but in suburbia, yeah, when they get gunned down, they hate the police, they spit on the police. At the funerals, people are to be pouring alcohol on the floor, they're shooting guns in the sky. The whole community is having an after tears. They're celebrating their dancing because they loved and celebrated their crazy little kingpin that died. And he was gunned down by the police, as he ought to have been gunned down, because he was gunned down in the middle of a cash and transit heist. He was gunned down in the middle of a this and this. Yeah, he had to die. The guy had to go. He was a criminal. He was given ample chances by the God of the universe to repent. After all, he survived 4 cash and transit heists where there were guns blazing all over the show, and instead of repenting, he decided to just go for the 5th one, right? And then on the 5th cash and transit heist, he dies and goes to Hades. But while he is like out here dealing with eternal condemnation and consequences therefore of his crazy activity, up on earth, since Hades is in the heart of the earth, at the surface of the earth, there are a whole bunch of people out here on some no woman. We have to come up against the police, we have to kill the police suck, blah blah blah, and angry community members that were upset at these gangsters that keep on recruiting their children into gangs, and that keep on also raping their daughters, and that also keep on making their children drunk and entering their children into hard knock head-on collisions coming back from parties. Yeah, upset parents and responsible community leaders are happy that this guy finally kichile. There are people in the community that are happy, and those people that are happy that this gangster's finally killed, will be frowned upon by the youth that are to revere him like he's Pablo Escobar in the comunas of Colombia. There are always going to be people, it's what I'm getting at, that out here are namby-pamby and all sad and breaking down and crying and acting like Timothy Treadle, who has a cramp in his cheek and his knees go weak, his shell gets so heavy he can hardly speak, he doesn't know what to do, he doesn't have a clue, he doesn't know what to do. They're gonna be upset like Timothy Treadle that a gangster died because he was Pablo Escobar. He gave them wads of cash in Gaga. When he walked into the office, he was like, "Hi ladies, morning," and they were like, "Hi Neo," or "Hi CEO with oral herpes." He was a monster, but there are other people that he's so incredibly enriched. There are other people that he's so incredibly enriched. There are other people who also looked up to him. I used to know a guy, a Nigerian Okie, that loved the story of Pablo Escobar because frankly, he had a criminal bone in him. He loved ill-gotten gain, and so the story of Pablo Escobar intrigued him, and he saw it fit to even tell me what Pablo ought to have done differently so as to not be in constant flight from the popo, and also from the American DEA, drug enforcement agencies and whatnot. He could have done differently. If only he was a little bit more careful, I would have done things like that. I would not have killed so many people. I would not have been such a terrorist. I would have done this, I would have done that. I was like, why under heaven do you look up to Pablo Escobar? What is wrong with you? I could not believe that he was serious. I also had an ex-boyfriend of mine who used to look up to some gangster guy that passed away, Marco, in the south of Johannesburg. I was like, dude, you be out there talking creepy to me. Why you talk about this guy like you be favoring him or whatever? Like he was a gangster. What's wrong with you? Ultimately, my ex-boyfriend against a lot of occult. So it makes sense that it makes sense that Narata Marco, because he could not let go of all that criminality. So I tried. So it is what it is. Type setup thing. But there are people who are just proper look up to Amagenza because they love ill-gotten gain. They love their sin. They love their monstrous behaviors. And this Nigerian oak that I used to know, Pablo Escobar, it is no wonder he was also among the little miscreants that tried on me because ill-gotten gain. They just want the best of things even though they don't want nothing to do with virtue in and of themselves. So they're going to be a burden on the best of things. They're going to hurt the best of things. A lot of these gangsters also have people that look up to them. They've got if at all you make a whole bunch of money from ill-gotten gain, if at all you're like that monstrous ridiculousness, monstrosity monster, if you that thing, if you that thing, boy, if you that thing, girl, if you that nasty, monstrous nastrostatus, because I get to make words, if you that nasticity, if you that nasticity, of course you're gonna look up to Ginza. So when the Ginza gets killed or when the Ginza gets exposed for trash, especially considering the Ginza's financing your trashy life, you are going to have qualms with right people in the community, moms who are upset that their daughters keep on sleeping with gangsters, getting beaten up at parties by gangster boyfriends. You're gonna hate these gangsters. While your daughter will be like, Mom, he's my man and I love him. You don't understand me, but he my baby. He mine, mama. I had a cousin that made a baby with a gangster. Goodness, everybody was so upset. And she was like, but he my love. Yeah, he ended up in prison. Not today. She's a grown woman in her 30s. Yeah, now she's a grown woman in her 30s and I bet is in deep regret for having made that baby girl with Ikenza. Cause now he's busy spending time in Danyan. But at the time, it was like, he my baby. Like all these rebellious random women are just dating bad boyfriends, and when their dads are like, I don't want you seeing that boy, but he my love, daddy. It's a Romeo and Juliet, and you do whatever it takes, and then when he gets initially arrested, you then go and bazook Because you think you making good with 50 cents in 50 questions. So besuka guy. I'ma stay with you, baby, even though you be actually incarcerated. I'm a good girl and I'm so pretty, I'm so fly, I'm so wonderful. All the dudes want me because I'm making good. But I'ma hang out with my boy in prison. You think it's pretty when you besuka and when you're still 22. Try and besuk when you're a baby mama of teenage children at 48. Then you'll realize how unpretty it is to be dating a gangster. Anyway, whatever. So this cousin of mine had to make a baby with a gangstery. And initially she was like, he my baby, he my baby. Cause I don't know, she could make it a song. He's my baby, my little baby. Now baby I'm a bora because now she's having to raise a daughter all by herself. I don't know what she has since then. She's probably gotten more children and maybe even married another dude. But at the time, Hashem, she was convinced that this here is my love. He's my baby. There are always going to be women that love to pursue criminals, drug lords. There are always going to be women that just because this guy can pay me wads of cash in Kenya, yo, until you're a middle-aged woman that's just sick and tired of Bobby Wako, because yes, like he's made you a very middle-aged woman, and now nobody's looking at you no more, because after all, ain't you 49 or whatever? Hey, my little baby, you be singing that jam first though. They'll always have sycophants, is what I'm getting at. They will always have sycophants while they're still able to take out wads of cash into about bitches to everybody in the streets. And they will also have little minion boys that will look up to their criminality, their gangstrosity, activity, their general demeanor that is very, very satanic. They'll have young people that don't want to work hard. And I mean, the life of a gangster is so, I get it, glamorous. They're very young and they're very elaborate. They're driving expensive cars, they're living elaborate lifestyles. Fast on the move. They don't have to go to boring, suited up, tied up corporates that keep everybody alive, 9-to-5s that keep everybody alive. They don't have to be bored and boring, and at clubs they don't have to be on a budget. They're 250 rand. After that, just deal that you ain't getting drunk no more, girl, because who in the world out to be buying Savannah A1 150 rand that day? They don't have to have budgets. Hennessy, me Hennessy, and you. They think about sexy. And so because they can buy everybody the moe, yeah, because they can buy everyone the moe, you know, when I used to drink alcohol, the way moe the first time I tasted it, I was so annoyed. I was like, why so? It just tasted like some fizzy alcoholic beverage. I frankly preferred a semi-sweet white wine or even a red dry. It's cheap from the stores, from the shelves. That's spa. I get to reka le bottle le one la champagne la 500 rand for what? For who? Moot, moet, mom. And it don't bore and they feel like tasting like apple tizer. E turang mara. Engwe ya bojwala. O ka se kgone go tawa even on it because you gotta sip it like nkare ke ngwananyana o monyane we ngenga. Bathong, otherwise o tlo nwa bojwala bo turang ha kana kaofela jwang in one sitting. O tlo feel like guilty ka sa ne ha se o le broke like a leg. O sa kgone lo afford the hot wings that chicken licking in eng bora mo way. Yes, I didn't understand it. The first time I tasted it, I was so disappointed. But that's just the nature of expensive alcohol. It all just tastes so ugly and bitter, and I don't know why it's so expensive. I guess I'm grateful that I stopped drinking because now I don't have to deal with all that angst in me as to why is this thing so expensive. Like, I don't get it. Anyway, this guy would be like a moot, got lapo moe. And so he's got sycophants. I choked on my saliva. And so he's got sycophants, you know? He's got young men that look up to him that also want to be a kingpin boss. They also want to be a putmadlisa. They think it's fun to not have to work as hard and yet still make all these millions, all these hundreds of thousands of rands, all these thousands. And so listen, there will always be somebody mourning over the death of Ikenza because Amakenza, they got wives. And Amakenza, they got sycophants, and Amakenza, they've got forlorn mistresses and side chicks that are to go miss their Gucci shopping sprees. Amakenza, they have got runner boys that are going to miss an easy 10,000, an easy 15,000. And so they be out looking at you like you be out murdering Palestinian babies. And so there is like a whole proliferated PR campaign to loathe the IDF for rightly campaigning against Hamas and Gaza to a point where you will say that IDF soldiers are killing Palestinian babies and raping their women, whatever, okay? Because that's pushing your agenda. When rather what's being massacred over here is Hamas, as they ought to be massacred, the same way that it is necessary and imperative for the police to massacre little gangsters that might be 15 years old. But what are you doing, little yummy, murdering everybody in the streets? Hey, you have taken away other people's 15-year-old sons. So, bye! Go to Hades at just 19 because Papa, we can't have more mothers bereaved over perfectly viable 19-year-olds that now are in also Hades because they did not know God, or heaven if they did know God. That you took the lives of, whose silver cord you cut and shortened their lifespan. So you go to Hades. Ma, there will always be somebody crying over a gangster. Just like those mothers and sisters in Brazil over their gangster brothers and sisters, brothers belonging to the crazy crime syndicate. There will always be people mourning over monstrosities, and I am loathed by a whole bunch of crazy boys and girls, men and women, that are like, I almost was tattooed put Madlisa away too, but like, has that put Madlisa not given you oral herpes? Yeah, but you've got a weird little love affair relationship with him, don't you? Or if you like HIV, but he's also given you 100,000 rands. So I guess, you know, for you it's like zama zama, chalate ka palibokisi, chalate ka palibokisi, chalate! Instead of keep libokisi la gago, your nether regions are spatch, you'll take the money. You took the money, and so you are out just smiling as somebody that gave you a litany of diseases. And this chick at YouTube, not just her, but a whole bunch of children. I call them children even though some of them are closer to age to me, like 35-year-old men, hey? A lot of them, however, are like in their 20s, get my Gen Zs. But there are some millennials all up in there. They look up to Big Boss. One of them is like, he's a runner, a minion, but he's a bigger minion than others. Like, you know how you will have like a kingpin boss and he will have a gang boss over a region and he's got other little minions underneath him. There's a colored guy who's like a boss in his own right, but he's still just a minion to this guy. And Omukhetile, because very loyal, and he's been working for this man for a minute. And this dude, this colored dude, I rebuked him in my shorts and I spoke about God's burden for him, because these men, this man, sending me a whole bunch of bullets coming from his little minions. The Lord, I spoke about how it is that you are standing in the way of a Christian, and the Lord is trying to cut the head of a snake in this country. But Mamelang, those of you that are little bodies, you are going to be the 15-year-old gangster that was recruited into a gang by some irresponsible old guy in a Mercedes. And the Lord does not want your mother crying over you or your sister. The Lord does not want your mother crying over you or your sister or your grandmother or your cousins. The Lord does not want the whole community of your former high school mates that used to play soccer with you to be all bereaved that little John is gone. Because frankly, little John, you have so much going for yourself. I have a brother that passed away dead in his sins at the age of 22, shot at a party. And my brother was just like those strewn bodies on the floor in Brazil. Caused his mom to cry, caused me to cry, caused his other brother to die, because it's a half brother. So the mom was my dad's second wife. My half brother passed away. He got shot at a party, passed away at Helen Joseph Hospital. And everybody was grieved. Everybody was upset that he was killed. Everybody was upset at the person who killed him. He was not killed by police, however, he was killed by a fellow gangster. At this party, there was lots of bereavement. But when you live a life like that, because he was into random crimes, house break-ins, car hijackings. That was my brother. He was only 22 years old and he got gunned down because he was living that kind of life. While everybody was bereaved, everybody was grieved. There are certain other members of the community that were like, but he had to go because he was a nuisance. He gave PTSD to certain people and families whose homes he broke into, cars that he hijacked. While he had not, by the time he died, committed murder, he certainly did cause PTSD. He did hold people up at gunpoint. He did a whole bunch of things and caused a lot of pain in other people's lives. But I didn't want him dead, and neither did his mom want him dead, my former stepmom. Neither did his grandmother want him dead, or his brother. Everybody that loved him, his girlfriend, they did not want him dead. But he was living a life that would inevitably put him in harm's way that way. And he found himself in Hades. Do you understand what I'm saying? Today, I am certain my brother is not in heaven. He did not make it. He didn't. He died at the height of his sin. And however, like I said, there are people that were relieved when he died, while there are others that would pick a bone with those who killed him. But I, as a child of God, as bereaved as I was, understood that he was a menace to society and he was removed out of the way because of his menacing life. Mamela, the Lord does not delight in the death of him who dies. The Lord does not take pleasure in the destruction of the sinner. And the Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, not willing that anybody should perish, but that all should come to a knowledge of him. That is our God. Do you understand? And in the one dream that I got about the minions of this Butmadisa guy, while the Lord is with limited regard for the Butmadisa, because I've been explaining, this guy has been in this for a minute. He's a kingpin. He's a lord in his right. He has recruited many people in this gangster space. He is irredeemable like the Nephilim. He's a hybrid. He is a cancer in the community. He is despised the way that Jacob I have loved, Esau I have hated. He despised his birthright. The Lord does not look at this guy wincing too much, but the Lord does look at all of his minions wincing, because a lot of these guys set up their own people for failure. So I watched Narcos, Pablo Escobar. Sometimes I wish I hadn't watched it, but sometimes I feel like I got information over there. I wish I hadn't watched it because it's really licentious, it's crazy, and I watched it as a Christian, so I was grieved the whole entire time, and I kept on grieving the Holy Spirit because I literally finished the whole thing because I was just very curious as to what happens in the end. I wouldn't recommend anybody goes watch it, but anyway, I watched it, right? And there was this one boy in the Comunas that Pablo Escobar hired that was a married young Colombian boy to a married young Colombian girl, and they both had a baby, the two of them. And Pablo Escobar put this boy in, it's a true story, he put this boy, having promised him the world, having promised him that he's going to set him up, that he's going to basically be a runner for Pablo for the rest of his life, and so be set for life with the family out here, pampering the wife and pampering the whole family and pampering their baby. And then he said that all that you need to do is press play on a recorder in an airplane, and that's all you need to do, and record a conversation of the president of Colombia or whatever on this flight. By the grace of God, the president was stayed from getting on the airplane, but this boy pressed that record and it exploded. The intention was to kill the sitting president of Colombia at the time, because he was on a furious fight and war on narco-terrorism in Colombia, and he wanted to kill that president. Pablo Escobar did not prosper to kill that president, but he did prosper to kill that boy, even though that boy thought that he was just recording a conversation. He was on a kamikaze mission unbeknownst to him. He was on a kamikaze mission unbeknownst to himself, in a way that, at least in Islamic jihad, they let you know when you are on a suicide mission. They tell you you're gonna bomb yourself in a vest and receive 47 virgins or however many there may be. At the end of it, Allah is definitely going to embrace you if you die a martyr's death. But Pablo Escobar was not so honest as to make like a Muslim jihadi and tell people, a Muslim jihadi recruit, and tell people that are about to wear a suicide vest and go somewhere and kill themselves while killing other people, that's what's going to be going on. Pablo Archer literally tricked that boy into getting on an airplane and ending his life unbeknownst to himself, thinking that he's just going to be recording a conversation between the president of Colombia at the time and somebody else. The plane went up in flames, poof, but the president lived to tell the story. Well, what one story says Pablo Escobar, God uses it to help me understand where Butmadisa ona wetsang the minions sa gagwe, and one of his minions is some colored dude that could be closer to age to me. Maybe like when I like 35, 38, right? Maybe 42, guys. But he's not young. He is in his own right, in his own capacity, a little bit of a boss, and he feels important and special, and he is feeding his whole entire family through the syndicate. He has never worked a single day in his life that is honest. He's never done a single job in corporate. He's only ever worked for these kingpin bosses, and they are feeding him healthy. They're making him fat. This colored guy, okay? I rebuked them in my shorts on some Oskatlon Kenya Abuti. God has mercy on you. The Lord is gazing at your soul with carefulness. The Lord is bereft over your impending death. The Lord does not want you dying. And not only is the Lord bereaved over this boss in his own right, minion colored guy, but he is bereft over all the other little minions that this Butmadisa herpes is sending on me. Baba Banganta, there are like little bees buzzing, encircling me, just in their cornucopia, in their many numbers. They're just buzzing and buzzing and buzzing and buzzing, and all of the crazy imagination that they can continue to buzz in so a capacity as this, and have a holy God not ransack them for all their incendiary buzzing. Okay, and so therefore cause me a great deal of distress, seeing as I am important for the mission of Jesus Christ. He will not let me get killed by minions that are going to frustrate me until I end my life, because over and above dealing with very hard knock high level sorcery, I now have to deal with minions that are back to back every day, back to back, just determined or dedicated to do rituals so as to irritate me until I just feel overwhelmed, until I become overwhelmed, right? The reason the Lord is bereft and frankly with like tears of blood coming out of his eyes is because the same way that those bodies were strewn on the floor in Brazil after that raid, there's about to be bodies strewn on the floor of 19, 20, 21-year-olds, 35-year-olds 16-year-olds that are runner boys that have been trained in the occult, that have been promised a future of prosperity, but whose primary mission is to press a button in an airplane to try and kill the president of Colombia. And yet that mission will fail. It will be foiled because the Drug Enforcement Agency will have been given a lead to essentially protect the president of Colombia to not get on that airplane. But those boys will die. And you know how in Narcos, after that boy gets killed on the airplane, Pablo, because it's a loose end, he was so violent. He went and killed the girlfriend, the wife, and tried to kill the baby. But maybe that was just dramatic license. Maybe that did not happen. Mara Pablo was like that. Like he literally dealt with things that he imagined to be loose ends, but just killing them off, and he didn't care if like there was a baby involved or whatever. Yeah, to him it was like this, that, it's a loose end, and a footy, she's gonna hate me because I killed her husband. So therefore she might just speak. So go and kill her. She's a loose end. She's a loose end. She's a loose end. And the mother ended up getting killed with her best friend, and then the baby was the one that made it out alive. They didn't kill the baby because the baby didn't see a single thing, but the baby was orphaned. Like I said, maybe that didn't really happen. Maybe that was dramatic license, but there certainly was a guy that was made to blow up a plane that did not quite kill the president of Colombia, but it was intended for killing the president of Colombia. So basically, this man is about to widow women indirectly by coming at me, and he is about to orphan children. He is about to kill, he's about to bereave parents. He is about to bereave grandmothers, communities of drug family members, drug like syndicate members. You know how I spoke about the Brazilian situation, and I spoke about my own brother, where it is that we were bereaved, that he was killed. Yeah, he was a minion doing rounds criminally. He was killed at a party, and of course we were devastated. Yeah, people are about to be devastated. However, there are going to be others like me. In my particular instance, I'm the innocent party here. I'm the victim. I will not bat an eyelid, neither feel some kind of way when these people's sons, daughters, husbands die. Because what the heck? You're all trying to kill me. You're all trying to hand me over. You're all trying to hand me over to some putmadlesa nasty that angimfuni lo muntu mara yena uyangifuna high low. Feel nkare nna ke thambo la gagwe la ko Kentucky. And I'm like, you're a take. High and low. Thank you, mara I'm not for you. Which was by any means necessary. High and low. Where's even the Nubabakona? The father like you have now personal assistant higher so that he can slide into my life. And every so often he retreats the dad. But the son is so determined that he has sent like to have her over here so I can be so distracted and so afflicted by spiritual war that a big fat chunky ICBM will finally knock me out. When under normal circumstances I'd be out grabbing an ICBM and sending it back. Tear gas back in the days of apartheid, you will remember. They'd be throwing tear gas in your camp, you pick it up and you throw it back at them. Yeah, I'd be throwing the ICBMs back at them. I'm so strong like Samson that they want to weaken me with minions. That I told every day, some spell, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to back. And the Lord knows that it's gonna achieve success in the sense that they will make me feel like God. They will frustrate me. Another spell. You see, their spells, the ICBMs, the nukes, they're too expensive for them to do them every day. The nukes are too, sometimes, never mind are they expensive, but also just the travel. They have to go to Malawi, they have to go to Ghana, they have to travel across Africa, sometimes even off the continent, to go and see some very high level spiritists. Like the witch doctors, that's what I'm getting at. So they don't just easily do rituals where they're gonna part ways with 35,000 rands, 50,000 rands, 20,000 rands. Mara, the ones that people can do in their backyard, the ones that people can do in their own personal capacity, the ones that people can do because they've been trained witchcraft. This guy's also into tarot cards. He keeps on reading tarot cards time and time again to see if at all I'm going to capitulate. And all far as what readings, he tries to divine the outcomes of my person through tarot cards, and they're so frustrating to him. The readings that he's getting in these tarot cards of his that he keeps on popping up, right? That now in his obsession over me and his possession over me and his possessiveness over me, he has figured that he's gonna come up with a bright idea to litter me as an azokita garbage, lots of garbage. From abantu that don't even it doesn't even cost them anything, like to do a little spell mo kitchen in your house that you overcome with You don't even have to be in a fasted mode. Their witchcraft is so low order. It's so small that they don't even like, you don't have to be fasting. As a Christian, you can just pray for 2 hours and you conquer it. This guy wants to just like these guys a certain amount of money to just focus on me every single day or every single night, and there are a lot of them, like a lot of them. I can't tell you how many. A lot of these crazy minion boys, they're largely men. Okay, there's Chigwapo YouTube and she just does courtesy witchcraft. Robert Tusa and even though nobody asked, because all obsessed in and of herself, lesbian yana, wangata, only crash, or tell this guy. But that will never ever accommodate them. Okay, yeah, no, the minions that are largely guys, like I said, they're mostly men, right? One of the most poignant of which is this one colored oak. Yeah, he has just sent them to Ubungi Telangimiti over and over, back to back, so very much all up in my grill again and again, because you know, Bot dileng shoho, bot subileng matekwane, bole very intense. Boy payling bangpareng because modimo obu rabazaka bu hectic bahai. Aski sobana yo, I can't multitask. Who very intense mo pilong baka. And I get 5:02 in the morning, so it's extra intense, especially precisely because of nakweleng yona. I'll get to the point. I'm sorry, get distracted. Yeah, obata kong selela bo outina, babangata banane. Baban sinje fela babangata. Baba loyang, ba dileng di hlohong ka re makoko tje ka mo khabonta te wa teng. Le kokole la bolo le dileng a tswa soccer ball. E sa ragegeng ke re le ka soccer boot. We dileng ka teng. Mokhawa o jwalo mara yo o mbatla hore. Abuti I've never been with a guy o nang le mokhaba. Then like slender self, so ha o tlo wina mona o joya. Ngare ke game ya chiga wena ke nna o winning ke agile mo lenze. I'm sorry guys, I'm so distracted. Yeah, but I'll be with you now. Now this dude, one like proper, like he be out just sending and sending and sending and sending and sending and sending and sending sending and sending 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 sending. Ubi easy matagwanza sender. Asa who sender. I want him to sender. Jana how to hakana to sender. It's really modimo. That's all the man hakana jar loose. Haleso pay. Lama lo itemaza lo tokafala lo chwatwa lo ravazo lo rolwa mo fatseng ka le donate. Hello basha. Okay, cool. I'm done over there. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so this dude actually be sending these minion guys, and I am how the Lord deals with strategies like this is the way that the Lord deals with strategies is with a wholesale massacre. We see it in the Bible in the Red Sea when Pharaoh sends all of his troops after the people of God. They all get engulfed by the Red Sea in one fell sweep after God's people pass over. God's people are not going to be subjugated to the tyranny of being pursued by people with weaponry that excels that of the people of God. Like they're militarily weak. They're slaves that have been set free. They don't have weapons. They're not going to win against an Egyptian army. So they get engulfed by the Red Sea. But you see, Pharaoh's irresponsibility sent men after the Hebrews that were fathers. He widowed wives and orphaned children because of his insistence on pursuing God's servants into the Red Sea. That's how the Lord deals with minion takeover. We shall call it a minion takeover, like a drone warfare, like anti warfare, like a Nazi warfare, like a bird of prey warfare, just hovering foul overhead that are sent to just poop on the heads of God's people. It's just wholesale engulfing. And the Lord showed me that he's bereaved over this. Like strewn bodies on the floor of Brazilian gangsters, precisely because of the widows that will bereave, that will mourn, precisely because of the mothers that will cry over 17-year-old children, precisely because of the sisters, and precisely over the fact that just like y'all are out here wreaking havoc in the lives of Israel or whatever, okay? Just as y'all are wreaking havoc in the lives of Israel or whatever, the IDF sends out warnings before they strike in Gaza, so that civilians can leave. They also feed Gaza, even though ain't no military in history ever been insisted upon to do that, and yet they did it. And yet people be out here saying that Israel is causing famine in Gaza, when the IDF is actively feeding Gazans. And not only that, the United Nations is the one that's standing in the way of food aid getting to the Gazans. It's a PR war. They're trying to make Israel look bad. For what reason? Listen, I said it. It is spiritual. Because a lot of the reasons why they do these things cannot be explained. Why? They're doing it by rational reasons. Because it's not beneficial for you in the long run. Except that the devil hates the people of God because God loves them. Yeah. So if at all, Israel is perpetually sending out warnings in advance before they strike in Gaza. On the day when Hamas uses Gazans as human shields, who here is to be lambasted as a crazy leader that doesn't care for his people creating widows and orphans? It's Hamas. Hamas are the problem. They are killing their own civilians and putting them in harm's way. Your little boss guy put Matlisa that gave you oral herpes, ladies, and some of the guys, because I get he's gay, he is about to create widows. But you see, when Israel strikes and 2 Gaza babies die, when 5-year-olds die in Gaza, and when women die in Gaza, when civilians die, you then look at the IDF that warned you in advance to leave a particular region while Hamas kept you in that region and refused to let you go. And when then you ran to that region that Israel said flee to, away from this particular strike, they then shoot you dead, they threaten you with weaponry, but Israel is going to land a fast one anyway in that region. Israel says we're going to bomb this location. Hamas is like, you're going to stay here so that we can show photos of all these dead Gazans, all these dead Palestinians, whatever you want to call yourself, Palestinians. You're just Palestinian. You those guys that are to be coming all up in Samson, like, gnawing away at his head. It's been a thing for a minute. Give yourself the name Palestine as much as you want. You're still Palestinians. You're Goliath. Goliath, Gaza, is lying on the floor as a dead child or a dead mom. But is it not Hamas that blocked the Philistinians from leaving that area? But then you go and you wreak havoc in your propaganda, your media machine, in the lives of Israel, the IDF. You now have an exorbitant anti-Semitism. You now have this like crazy, creepy, gnarly, like feisty, almost like athlete's foot anti-Semitism. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's actually giving conjunctivitis or whatever. You've got that crazy diseased anti-Semitism in your bones and in your fingertips because of the fact that Hamas made like Pharaoh and put his soldiers inside the Red Sea before God engulfed it. Yeah, well, some of y'all in the occult, the way the way that you hate Christianity is because we have lain your occult bosses waste. These crazies that are to be giving you wads of cash, we're eliminating them. And they're destroying South Africa, Mara. You look up to them just like the citizens of Mamelodi that love gangsters. You like crazy people, but these crazy people are indeed just that crazy, and they are creating widows in certain other parts of the world. They're creating orphans in certain other parts of the world. But in and of themselves, they're somebody's husband, they're somebody's son. So in and of themselves, they create bereavement when they die. And so because you don't like their death, because you are a criminal in and of yourself, you belong to that crazy gnarly camp, you be thinking that Karabo Ndefela is coming up against the thing that made you happy, wealthy, and wise. Mara through kansi, busy answer change the marble top but you're a mistress, girl, and literally one that can't even leave. You can't walk away from this guy because that even though you're busy now, we're just like his wife. Still you're holding on to him? For what? This guy's a monster. Then again, trauma bonding caused by Uktwala. They cause you guys in Jefela to hold on to them for dear life. This man, because he is sycophants. Thanks to this message, my hope is that I'm going to be as effective as the IDF so that the casualties of in Gaza are largely of Hamas militants instead of civilians. To a certain extent, you're also Hamas militants. Hamas militants, proper, especially when you are just 22 years old. You've been trained in that crazy little strip of yours called Gaza to hate the Jews. From the time you were a child, you don't know no better. Be trained, be made better. Question this Allah of yours. Because why in the world has he made out of you human shields? What's going on? Why does your God not love life? Why does your God insist on death? Like, get out. Like, leave that crazy cult called Islam. Atmosphere it's very uncomfortable. Like in Gaza, just get out.